How can food bring together cultures and new fusion recipes for all to share and enjoy? Food has always been something that brings people together. Not only does it nourish our bodies and souls, but food connects people and cultures since the beginning of time, whether it's through cooking together, sharing recipes and meals, or even simply tasting a new ethnic plate. For instance, following the Korean War in the early 1950s, most of Korea's citizens were starving and impoverished. Many of them survived by accessing the leftover army rations that fellow American soldiers left behind. Canned foods like beans and spam from the barracks were used, along with cheap vegetables like kimchi and onions, to produce a soup called budae, also known as army-based stew. Koreans were able to assimilate these American processed foods to fit into their Korean taste buds by adding it as a substitute ingredient in their original Korean recipes. For example, the favorite Korean flavoring, gochujang, was always used in these budae stews to provide that preferred spicy taste. And since they couldn't access the usual pork they normally would have used in stews, they instead substituted the spam and beans as their protein. Considering all the post-war starving people in need, Koreans were able to survive with the help of the surplus food that American soldiers left behind. They were able to assimilate American ingredients into their Korean recipes to produce affordable fusion stews that help feed the hungry. This shows how food brought a connection of cultures that provided nourishment and a new fusion of foods and culture. Now, budae is a popular Korean dish favored by all types of people for its mix of American and Korean taste. I believe this dish introduces and invites people, especially those who are unfamiliar with Korean food, to enjoy and appreciate the Korean palate. Perhaps people will be more willing to try other Korean recipes in the future following the delightful taste of this budae. This stew is varied in its taste since everyone produces their own version of the stew by incorporating different ingredients or spices according to their personal preference. However, the base ingredients of gochujang, spam, onions, kimchi, and ramen noodles, along with additional ingredients of one's choosing, will produce a spicy, flavorful stew that will have everyone's tongue wagging for more.